As we all know, tilapia is a hardy fish because tilapia has a very strong biological
City and
adaptability.
Cargill as
It
an
have
aquaculture nutritionist and
very
technical
wide
leader for
fluctuation
almost
tolerance
20
for
years.
temperature.
I'm
Although the
very glad
optimum
here to
temperature for
spend
tilapia is
about
around
30 minutes with you.
28 to 30 degrees, but as we know, tilapia can survive as low as 10 Celsius degree, and it can tolerate up to 35, 38 Celsius degree. In terms of salinity, tilapia is primarily freshwater species. However, tilapia can be farmed in brackish and high salinity water too. For example, some species like some species can tolerate the salinity up to 25 to 30 ppt, like a Mozambique tilapia. Tilapia also have a high tolerance of low dissolved oxygen. The oxygen, sometimes when the oxygen reach as low as 2 milligram per liter, tilapia can still survive. Although it's optimal that dissolved oxygen should be above 5 milligram per liter. It also have a broad operation window for pH from 6 to 10. Although tilapia prefer neutral and academic environment. Besides the strong biological adaptability, tilapia is also easily to adapt to different farming systems, like earthen pond, cages in the rivers, a reservoir, raceway, and also with recirculating aquaculture system, bioflok system, and recently aquaponic system. Because all these advantages, tilapia now has been farmed in more than 100 countries. So last year in 2025, a global tilapia output is estimated at more than 7 million tons. China, Indonesia, and Egypt are the top 3 leaders globally. So all of them have the output more than 1 million tons there. Then for the middle tier, basically is the Brazil, Bangladesh, Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, from the middle. So they have the output between 0.3 to 0.6 million tons. So that's a good news, right? So means this industry is quite big. However, today I would share some a little bit on present news for this industry. Despite tilapia is hardy fish, however, in recent years, tilapia farming has become hard. In other words, tilapia is no longer an easy aquaculture species. So why? What happened? So basically, the tilapia farming margin become low and low, and in some farming regions, the producers can only break even or even lose money there. Because over the past decades, there's a different force, start to squeeze the producer for the farming margin. So number one, the trade shift has complicated the established trade flow. Then we can also say involving the disease and health challenging continue to put a constraint on the volume production capacity. Besides that, we have stricter and tighter regulation. So it forced the producers to have operational overhaul. Last but not least, the persistent high feed cost continue to to drive the whole production cost up and decrease the farming margin. So in one word, the trade, disease regulation, and the feeder cost now all work together, compress the producers from all sides, then have a result the lower farming margin. Let's take a closer look at this four sides force or the pressures. But first, let's talk about the trade shift. For a long time, China is the largest tilapia producer and exporter. So tilapia has the annual tilapia export around 479,000 tons a year. USA is the largest tilapia export with an annual export volume around 200,000 tons a year. Every year, China supplies about 120,000 tons tilapia to USA, which accounts about 60% of our market share. So this China-US, trade flow anchors global trading. It has a big impact on the global pricing, supply availability, and the trade stability. However, as we know, since 2018, there's a trade friction between China and the US, and recently, under the second term of the Trump administration, since last year, there's the rise of the trade friction between China and the USA. So this kind of a trade friction so caused very interesting dynamic, the trade flow of tilapia between China and the US. So then it has caused a global impact. So then it forced the regions, started to take a different approach on the trade flow. Regional specialization start to replace the one-size-fits-all market logic. So in details, so in Latin America, we start to say, the demand on the fresh fillet and the, premium fillet in the region in the domestic consumption, especially in Brazil. On the other hand, we say, some countries like Colombia and Honduras continue to supply fresh fillet from their countries to the United States. Then in Africa, the demand for the tilapia, especially the whole tilapia, continue to grow at a very steady speed. So then it gave the opportunity for some countries like China and Southeast Asia countries like Vietnam to supply the frozen whole fish to Africa, especially the white Africa countries. In terms of the Southeast Asia countries like Indonesia, Thailand, Bangladesh, India, Philippines, the domestic, consumption still quite stable, and there's not much export except some, small export from Indonesia, for example, from the large producer like Ringo Spring. And recently, we also see the surge of some export from Vietnam. So that's the kind of a regional change and a trade flow change, is going on in recent years. Now, let's talk about a little bit about the disease and the health challenge. Streptococcus is still the persistent bacterial pressure in the intensive farming systems. In the past 10 years, tilapia lake virus becomes ongoing, viral threat to the stock stability and the survival. Besides that, we also have the water quality issues and water quality stress because the farming become more and more intensive. So this stress weak the immunity and the recovery of the the fish when they have health issues. So overall, all this come together, disease coupled with the environmental stress have the impact on the operation. We can say the lower survival, slower growth, and weaker crop predictability over the years. Then the other thing is about, the compliance and the regulation. So today, the quality is the table stakes, okay? So the premium export market demands more. So they care about environmental stewardship, labor standards, animal health, animal welfare, traceability, those premium export market buyers, they care more than just the fillet quality, right? They started to audit the whole operation system, okay? From a farm to the labor, workforce, and the whole supply chain. Because of that, so they need the whole system to have the compliance, so we can access the premium market. The last one is the production cost. The production cost in all the variable cost, from the fish fries to feed and labor, energy, utilization, all the cost, continue to increase over the years. But unfortunately, at the same time, the price become weaker and weaker. We can say the farm gate price, remains constrained. I can give you an example. In the past 5 years, in southern China, the farming cost is, for the 500-gram tilapia is around 0.7 to 0.9 dollars per kg. But we can say the farm gate price is only around 0.8 to $1 per kg, which means, the farmers, they only can make a little money. It's like $0.1 per kg, or some farmers just break even or even lose money. So among all the variable costs, feed is the largest one, accounts for 50 to 60% of the production cost. If there's a small increase in the feed conversion ratio, FCR, will have a bigger impact on the farming margin in the end. So today, the feed is not only a technical issue, but also profitability issue. The nutrition strategy must, serve both biology and economics. Should you take the perspective from both technical and financial perspectives? So we need to have a cost discipline, FCR focus, and in the end have the magic logic there. Because of this, how to win in the new Tilapia era? There's no single, silver bullet. There's no single solution. I think the answer is we need coordinated upgrade across 4 operating pillars, which are genetics, feed, management, and marketing. We need a strategic pivot. So the next growth circle is not just about growth volume. We need to have a growth through precision and efficiency. So we need better genetics, better feed, better management, and better marketing to achieve operational success and profitability. Because better genetics can raise the biological ceiling, better feed can control the largest cost center, and better management protect assets and execution. In the end, the better marketing can help us capture more fellow values. So in one word, the future financial viability of tilapia farming depends on simultaneous upgrade across biology, which is genetics and feed, and operation, which is management, and marketing strategy. Now, let's dive into the 4 pillars one by one. Pillar number 1 is genetics. I think Professor Huang already talked a lot about the genetics, which is fantastic there. So today, the gift-derived strains account roughly, 3/4 or 75% of the global tilapia production. This is good news, but it's not good enough. We need a wider standardized adoption of the genetically improved strains. So in the end, we can have more feed efficiency, survival, and resilience. Okay, so because the seed quality set biological ceilings, we need to continue to that. We need to continue to promote the genetically improved tilapia stocking globally. Hopefully one day we can reach 100%. Then the next question will be, okay, as we continue to increase the genetically improved tilapia stocking, then what should we breed for the tilapia in the future? I think we need a very targeted approach to breed tilapia. I completely agree with what Professor Huang, just mentioned, about 30 minutes ago. So we need to breed for the robustness beyond just the growth. Okay, so then we can select the harder to break fish against the disease and the biological stress there. So in the end, we can increase the survival, increase the success rate of production, so we can stabilize the harvest planning and have a predictable production. In terms of the second pillar, feed, I think there are 3 things we need to think about. The first one is about precision nutrition. Okay, today we kind of use a generic feeding program in the industry. For example, maybe we use 30% protein, 6% fat tilapia grower feed in the South Mekong Delta in Vietnam, or we use 28% protein, 7% fat feed in Colombia, in Latin America. I think that's not enough. It's generic feed is not economically efficient anymore. We need to have precision formulation. We need to, when we define the nutrient requirement and the nutrient content in the feed, we need to think about genetics, life stage, and the farming environment of the fish. So in other words, we need a right formula for the right moment, for the right fish farmed in the right system. So we need a tailored farmer-specific calibration for the feed. The second thing about the feed is about in ingredient diversification. We need to continue to expand the raw material basket for the feed formulation. So which means we need to continue to identify, evaluate, and utilize the alternative ingredient, especially those locally available alternative ingredients. We need to switch, from very few major commodity ingredients, into the local accessible ones. By doing that, it can enable the formulators to decrease the single input risk can do very fast reformulation. In the end, we can have a better cost agility. So in that sense, the ingredient diversification is, the cost control strategy. The third thing about, the feed is, I think we need to adopt the no protein, high fat concept. Because nowadays people talk a lot about high protein, we need a very high protein. High protein equals to high quality feed. I think we need to change the mindset a little bit. We can increase the fat in the feed, so we can save the protein, which is a very expensive nutrients ingredients, so as a energy source. If we done this well, this concept can, decrease the feed cost, can maintain or even make the feed performance better, and also can reduce the nitrogen excretion to the water, so make the environment is better. But as Dr. Zhang mentioned early on, when we start to develop a low protein, high fat feed, especially when we increase the fat in the feed, we need take this approach with caution, because high fat sometimes can cause some psychological physiology issues there. For example, fatty liver. So then we need to leverage some, nutritional approach or functional additives, to number one, to increase antioxidant capacity. For example, maybe we need to think about use vitamin C, vitamin E to increase antioxidant capacity for the fish fed, high fat feed. The other thing we need to think is, we need to utilize some nutrients and additives to improve the fat utilization. For example, phospholipids is one there, and another thing is the bile acid Dr. Zhang just mentioned. You can clearly see the bile acid can help the fat utilization and improve the liver health of the tilapia, as Dr. Zhang just mentioned. Then another pillar is about the management. There's two things about the management. The first one is biosecurity. We need to switch the system from reaction to prevention. We need to set up the preventive health systems, including health screening, movement control, routine diagnostics, and early warning. Okay, so we need to invest more in the prevention rather than reaction when the disease outbreak happen. The second thing is around on the smart farming. We need to leverage the digital technologies. So now the human observation and the experience are not good enough. So even sometimes are not reliable anymore. So we need to leverage the data. We need to digitalize the farm. Established Internet of the Thing, the sensors to capture the data. You have a real-time monitoring, then establish an automatic feeding system. Can manage the feeding programs. Then we also can leverage the data to have the water quality management, have the forecast of the water quality change. So then, take actions when the water quality become bad. So in the end, all the things come together can build into the artificial intelligence platform. So then can allow us to make objective, right, and fast decision based on data. The last one is really about marketing. So we need to tell a good story, a whole story about the fish from a production to the go to market. Yeah, we started from a sustainable production. So then we comply with the regulation. We have certification, for example, ASC, Global Gap, DAP. So then at the same time, we need to diversify our destination market. Probably yes, we need to focus on, USA, EU, but at the same time, we need to promote domestic consumption and also, keep an eye on the growing market like Africa. So in terms of product, can continue to do a lot of innovation to develop a value-added product, to feed into the, some, premium channels. In the end, we can leverage all this together, the reputation, access, geography spread, better product mix to capture the value, to set the premium price, to increase the margin. As you can see, each pillar drove a different part of the profitability equation. They need to work together, to in the end can protect the margin, because again, genetics set the biological ceiling for growth, survival, and resilience. Management can protect the biological potential through biosecurity and monitoring. Feed can control the largest variable cost center, right, through precision input management. Last but not least, marketing capture the value through the asset, reputation, and channel strategy. So the pathway moving forward is the holistic approach, is an integrated approach. We need better genetics, tailored feed, smart management, and stronger market capture. So I think the mandate in the future is produce fish and protect margins. So in one word, tilapia farming is now an efficiency game. That's my talk. Thank you so much for your listening.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Thank you, Dr. Andy Pei, for your deep insights. And as we all know, the data and the trends very clear. So I'm sure that this will be a very useful and helpful for our tilapia business planning. Okay, now it's time for the Q&A session. If you have any question about the global tilapia prices, industry situation, or the regional competition pressure, and also the low protein and high fat diets, so you can feel free to ask about those topics.
Can I comment on that, on this point?
Sorry, Professor, need wait some time.
Can I comment on this point, the use of high fat, low protein?
Yes, go ahead.
Well, first of all, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, my dear friends and colleagues. We should be careful about reducing the protein level in the diet. We should fulfill the minimum requirement of the fish, but we cannot say just reduce the protein. Beyond certain level, yes, we can reduce it, but we should keep the balance between protein and energy, which is called protein to energy ratio. I'm sure you know this very well. So we should be careful about this. But increasing the lipid itself may be useful, like you said, and may be harmful, because tilapia can easily utilize carbohydrate. So carbohydrates are cheaper than lipids. So we can add, like you said, 6% lipids, and then we can add as much carbohydrates, up to 40% or more, keeping the protein required by the fish. In this case, we can save money because oil is still expensive. Plant oil, fish oil is just very, very expensive. But plant oil is still also expensive. So if we may add carbohydrates as far as the fish can utilize it quite efficiently. So we just should be careful about the statement reducing protein and increasing lipids. We should keep the balance between them. Thank you very much.
Yeah, Professor Elsias, thank you for your comments. I think it's very good addition. I completely agree with you. When I think I didn't mention well. So when I talk about reduce the protein, really is not just only reduce the protein. We need to make sure have a balanced amino acid, especially balanced digestible amino acid in the diet. That's number one. Number two, I think you have a very good point. In the end is really the whole concept is to increase the energy contribution from fat and carbohydrate, to save the protein as an energy source. Depending on the region, so in some regions, probably, carbohydrate is cheaper. Some region, they have a good access to oils, fats, they can leverage the oils. But in the whole concept is really higher energy, lower protein, balanced amino acid diet, so can reduce the feed cost, maintain the performance, and reduce and protect the water quality. I think I thank you for your comments. That's very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Anipe, for your wonderful answer, and also thanks, Professor, for your wonderful question. And Dr. Andy, you can see in the Q&A box there has some question.
No, I look at the box. I cannot see any question. I can see the questions from the
another
previous
one, the Q&A session.
I cannot see. Could you read it for me?
The first question was the cost benefit comparison between genomic selection and traditional. Oh, sorry, not this one. When you suggest high fat, what level do you suggest will this high fat feeds involve changes in extrusion concepts or post pellet addition?
Yeah, so I would say that the direction is due, to trying to increase the fat as let me pull back a little bit. So right now, so as we can say in the industry, so we in the past, we use the fat is like 5 to 6%. I'm just talking about the tilapia grower feed, okay? So 5 to 6%. So right now we can say the industry already in some countries already involved into 9 to 10%, okay? So you can see the range, from 5 to 6 to 9 to 10% fat there. However, when it comes to increase the fat, we need to consider your real situation, in your country or and also in your feed mills. You need to think about your processing capacity and also your access to the oils. Of course, for the extruded feed, I don't say there's there's a issue or challenging to increase the fat to 9 to 10%. But for some hand-eaten tilapia feed, if the manufacturer capability is not good enough, it may have some problems there.